In this video, we will see code implementation. Now let's do the code implementation of the problem. So I will first create my function where basically we need to solve Sudoku. So solve Sudoku, and that is a function in which I am getting few values. So I am writing this in complete JavaScript so that it will make sense to you. So, but you can understand, right? That is again very intuitive. So I have where n is equals to basically board dot length. So board dot length will basically give me the value, or I can simply say board 0 dot length. So basically this will give me the whatever the length of the board is. And I will call one my function solve only, solve with board, and I will call 0 comma 0. Basically I will call with the 0 index and the 0 row and 0 column. Now I will create my function solve, and here I have one board and I have one row and I have one column. Okay, now let's understand one by one. See, let's start with the what we are creating next row and next column. So next my next row will be the same row, and my next column will be column plus 1, right? I will move ahead, but if my column is equals to n minus 1 basically, or I can say if column is equals to the last column, that is 8, I will simply say that my next row now will be row plus 1, and my next column will become 0, right? Okay, now this thing is clear. Now whenever my board, the row and column, okay, it's not equals to that dot, basically that empty, if it is not equals to empty, that means there is something present. So I will simply call my again solve function with the, basically I will simply move ahead, right? So I will call the same function board with the next row and next column. So I will simply call board, right? And the parameters will be next row and next column, right? I will call this one, right? If suppose that's an empty case, okay, if it is an empty case, so what I will be requiring, so I will basically start a for loop that will start from 1 to less than equals to 9, because I need to fill all these numbers, right, till 9. And I will, before doing this, I will check, is it valid, right? Is it valid to fill this? So if it is returning yes, it is valid, then I will fill it. So I will basically invalid, I will pass my row, will pass that column, and I will pass that number that I am getting. So basically I will pass that I. So here it should be I, but I should be it in string. So I will simply put in the string form. Now if this condition is valid, right, if this condition is valid, then I will, what I will do, I will simply do the change. I will say whatever the board row and column is, now it will become my I, right? But I again string in the form. So I will simply put in the string, right? This I have done it. Now here, once you have done it, right, what you will do, you will call for the next one, because the work is done. You will call the next function. So I will call the next function like this, same again. But the thing is here, when you are calling the next, suppose when you are returning from it, so you need to check, is it a true case or a false case, right? So if you are, when you are returning from it, you need to check it. So I will again put an if condition here, and I will check, sorry, I will put an if condition here, right? And I will check if this condition is like basically true, basically it is completed or not. And when this will return true, that's the good question, right? When it will return true, basically when this function will be true, when it will reach to the end. So can I say, can I create something here, whenever I am reaching to end, what is my end? That means my row is equals to 9. That means I have completed all rows. Then simply return true, right? So that means when I am completed all these things, this will return true, right? And I will return the same, right? But suppose if I am not returning from here in a true form, that's a false. So what I will do, I will say whatever you have entry that you have made, right? Whatever the entry that you have created, simply undo it. So how you will undo it? I will say again put a dot. So the entry will be undo. And suppose here that's a for loop, right? That's a for loop. I am putting 1, 9, all these values, and I am not able to fill it. This for loop is done. So can I say after this for loop I should return false? Because I have tried all these number 1 to 9 and none of the thing is in the valid. That means I am returning here. That means I am returning here again and again. None of the thing is valid. So what I will do, I will return false here. And yes, this will be my basic function, right? And basic I will call it here, right? Basic, this will be our function, right? That's it. That we need to, these only the things that we need to do. Now I just need to check is my valid is true or how we will create valid. Let's quickly create our function is valid. So what I will do, I will simply put is valid. All right. In is valid, I will put the board. I will put the row. I will put the column and I will put the number that I am passing here. Basically, you can see the number that I am passing here, right? String I. So this is valid. I am calling here. Now, once I have done it, I will simply check. Okay, this should not be like this. Function is valid. Okay. Now, row check. First of all, I will do the row check. How I will check the row? I will simply start for let I equals to 0, I will less than equals to 8 and I plus plus. And what I will do? I will simply say if my board comma row and column is equals to num. So here row and column, but suppose when I am doing a row check, so column will be changed continuously. So can I say it will be my I basically, whatever the thing that we have put here. This condition is true, simply return false. Similarly, I will do the column check. So I will copy this one and I will say column check. And again, I will move in the same direction, but here there shall be I and here it will be column. Then what I will do? I will do a grid check. So let's make a function for grid. And how I will make it? I will say for let I is equals to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus this function. Then for let j equals to 0, j less than 3, j plus plus, right? And after this, I will create a start row and remember start row and start column. So let start row, basically your start row will be whatever the row that you have given. Row, what was row minus row modulus 3? Row modulus 3. I guess it was row plus. So row minus row modulus 3, because if suppose it is 6, 6 modulus 3 is 2 and here also 6. So 6 minus 2, this will give me the result, right? So row modulus 3 and let start call, basically our start column equals column minus whatever the column that is column modulus 3. Modulus 3. This is done. And after this, what I will do, I will simply check if my board, comma, instead of I will put start row plus I, right? And instead of putting J, I will say start column plus J. If this is equals to num, that means the number is present, I will directly return false. Right? So in these three cases, I will return the false directly, right? And now here after this, suppose if all these three conditions are false, I will return true. That means yes, none of the number is present, right? Here none of the number is present. So this will be basically our case is valid. Okay, and this will be our function call. So this will be the code implementation of our code. Okay, I hope you got it. Okay, in the next video, I will give you a complete dry run of this approach, how basically we are doing it. So we will take few examples and we will do the dry run. So see you in the next video.